At 7:15 a.m. in Nashville, I opened an email that would change everything. My 1-year-old daughter, Emma, sat happily in her high chair, oblivious to the storm that had just been unleashed by her father. The subject line was simple: moving on. I almost dropped my coffee when I opened the attachment. There, in front of our lake house, stood Donald, my husband of 5 years, wrapped around a young blonde woman who looked barely older than 23. The email read, "The house is mine now. I've already moved in with Amber. My lawyer will send over the divorce papers. Don't bother fighting it. The deed is in my name." My hands trembled as I set the coffee mug down, but it wasn't fear that made me shake. It was pure, unbridled rage. Donald had actually thought he could just email me divorce papers and take our vacation home, the home I'd paid for using the profits from my business. He clearly had no idea what was coming. I glanced at Emma, blissfully playing with her breakfast, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding around her. Then I looked at the framed photo on the kitchen wall. Donald and I on our wedding day, smiles wide and bright, convinced we had the world figured out. 5 years of marriage. And this was how he chose to end it, with a smug email and a picture of himself with a woman nearly half my age. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone. My finger hovered over Donald's contact. Then I clicked block. I opened my email and typed 2 simple sentences in reply. "Are you sure about that? Better check the paperwork carefully." I hit send, then blocked his email again. I turned to Emma and smiled. Donald had always underestimated me. He probably thought I'd break down, cry, or beg him to reconsider. But he had forgotten one crucial detail. I didn't build a successful company by being naive about protecting my assets. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. There had been little red flags I had dismissed because I was too busy managing my growing business and caring for our new baby. Donald had been making frequent business trips to the lake house over the past 3 months, claiming he needed quiet to work on a big corporate merger. I had built my company from the ground up while supporting his career. But when we first met, Donald treated my business like a hobby. He loved telling people how he helped me turn it into something real. But the truth was that my business had tripled in value since we married, all through my hard work and strategic planning. The lake house had been my idea, a perfect getaway for our family. I paid for it completely with my company's profits, but Donald insisted on putting his name on the deed for tax purposes. I agreed, but only after having my lawyer draft very specific documents about the property's true ownership. Last week, Donald had been especially distant, spending hours on the phone in our office. When I asked about the merger, he got defensive, snapping that I wouldn't understand the complexities of corporate finance. Funny, considering I had been managing his investment portfolio for the past 3 years. I picked up Emma from her high chair and held her close, inhaling her sweet baby scent. She had Donald's eyes, but my determination. I could already see the drive in her, tackling every challenge with focus. Looking at her now, my resolve was stronger than ever. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about protecting her future, too. I walked to my home office with Emma on my hip and opened my laptop. Within minutes, I emailed my lawyer the documentation proving I'd purchased the lake house. Then, I opened the security camera feed I'd secretly installed at the property. Donald had no idea about the cameras. They had caught everything, every visit, every guest, every betrayal. Amber might have thought she was basking in her victory at the lake house, but she had no clue she was starring in a video that would become key evidence in my divorce proceedings. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel, my assistant. "Julia, you need to see this." Attached was a link to Amber's Instagram profile. Going back months, there were dozens of photos of her with Donald, some taken in our bedroom at the lake house with her wearing my clothes, using my things. The latest post showed her wearing my grandmother's diamond ring, the one Donald had promised we'd give to Emma on her 18th birthday. My stomach turned. This wasn't just an affair. This had been going on since before Emma was born. I opened my banking app. That's when the second blow hit. The joint account where I had deposited money for Emma's college fund was empty. Every penny, nearly $100,000, gone, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. The rage I'd felt earlier turned cold and calculating. I called my bank immediately, then my lawyer. Within an hour, I had confirmation. Donald had been systematically moving money around for months, preparing for this moment. He had even tried to access my business accounts, but failed. Those, at least, were protected by ironclad contracts and separate banking arrangements. Rachel called while I was on the phone with my lawyer. "Julia, there's more," she said. She sent me screenshots from Amber's private Facebook page. Amber had been bragging to her friends about landing a rich older man and how they planned to take his boring wife for everything she was worth. There were even messages joking about how oblivious I was, too busy with my little online shop to notice what was going on. Little did they know that little online shop had made me a millionaire 3 times over. I'd kept that information private, letting Donald believe my business was successful, not wildly profitable. His ego had never allowed him to really look at my company's books. I looked at Emma, peacefully napping in her playpen. "Don't worry, baby girl," I whispered. "Mommy's about to teach Daddy a lesson about underestimating women in business." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. My lawyer, Sarah, arrived just before noon. As we sat in my home office reviewing documents, Emma napped upstairs with Rachel keeping watch. I had hired extra security, just in case. Something told me Donald wouldn't take my email response well. "He's not as clever as he thinks," Sarah said, reviewing the lake house documentation. "The deed may be in his name, but we have ironclad proof that your business funds purchased the property, the transfer records, the contracts, even the emails where he admits it was your money. It's all here." I nodded, pulling up the security camera feeds. "Look at this," I said, showing Sarah the footage. It showed Donald and Amber entering the lake house at various times over the past few months. But what really caught Sarah's attention was the footage from 2 days ago, showing Donald carrying box after box of items from the house, including several pieces of art I had purchased with my company profits. "That's attempted theft of business assets," Sarah said, making notes. "We have the documentation." Just then, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I put it on speaker. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" Donald's voice was sharp, angry. "Check your business email, Julia. My lawyers have been busy too." I opened my email, and my stomach dropped. Donald's lawyers had filed an emergency petition claiming that my business had been built using his expertise and connections. They were demanding a full audit and temporary control of my company's accounts during the divorce proceedings. "You'd really try to take my company?" I kept my voice steady, despite my racing heart. "The company I built before I even met you?" He laughed coldly. "Who do you think gave you all these corporate contacts? Who introduced you to the right people? Face it, Julia, you'd be nothing without me. Amber understands that. She knows how to be grateful." I muted the phone and turned to Sarah, who was already typing furiously. She held up a finger, signaling me to wait. "Donald," I unmuted the phone, buying time. "Think carefully about what you're doing." "Oh, I have," he replied. "My lawyers will be in touch about Emma, too. You're too busy with your precious business to be a proper mother. Amber's great with kids. She used to be a nanny." The threat to take Emma made my blood run cold. But before I could respond, Sarah slid her laptop over to me. On the screen was an email from 3 years ago, one Donald had sent to a friend complaining about my success. She won't listen to my business advice at all, says she doesn't need my help. And she's right. Her company's worth more than my annual salary now. It's embarrassing. I smiled as I unmuted the phone. You should have thought about that before. Donald, I just sent something to your lawyer. You might want to consult with him before making any more threats regarding my company. What are you talking about? Let's just say your email archives aren't as private as you thought. Call off your lawyers, or the next email I send will be to your boss. I wonder how he'd feel about all those corporate contacts you claim to have given me. The line went silent for a moment before I heard the click. Sarah continued to sift through Donald's emails when Rachel rushed into the office, her face drained of color. Julia, you need to see this now, she exclaimed, thrusting her tablet in front of me. On the screen was a draft press release from Donald's company, announcing his promotion to Chief Financial Officer next month. Suddenly, everything clicked. The timing of his affair with Amber, the calculated moves with our accounts, and the aggressive legal tactics. It wasn't just about leaving me. He was cleaning house before his promotion, securing assets, and minimizing his losses in the divorce. There's more, Rachel said, as she swiped to another document. Amber wasn't just some random girlfriend. She was the CEO's niece. It hit me like a punch to the stomach. Donald hadn't fallen for a younger woman. He had orchestrated a relationship with the CEO's niece to guarantee his promotion. The lake house, the stolen money, the threats about Emma. It was all part of his plan to start his new life as CFO with his perfect, well-connected young wife. Sarah looked up from her laptop. Julia, I found something else. The company merger Donald's been working on involves one of your biggest competitors. If he becomes CFO, he'll have access to insider information that could seriously harm your company. My fists clenched. Donald wasn't just trying to hurt me personally. He was setting himself up to ruin everything I had worked for. I thought back to all those nights he'd spent in his office, claiming to work on merger documents. Had he been going through my business files instead? Check my home network activity, I told Rachel. Focus on any attempts to access my business servers. While Rachel worked, Sarah uncovered another chilling discovery. Look at these emails from 6 months ago between Donald and Amber. They were planning this before Emma was even born. Amber had written, "Once you're CFO, we can use insider information to push Julia's company out of the market. Uncle Robert will help." It made me feel sick to realize they had been plotting against me while I was caring for our newborn daughter. But their arrogance made them sloppy, leaving a trail of evidence that could take down not just Donald's promotion, but the CEO's reputation as well. Rachel's voice broke through my thoughts. I found it. Multiple attempts to access your business servers from Donald's laptop. He didn't get through your security, but he tried. Corporate espionage. I stood up and walked to the window, watching Emma play with her favorite stuffed elephant in her playpen. Donald had thought he was clever, using his relationship with Amber to secure his future. But he'd forgotten the most important lesson in business. Never underestimate your opponent. Sarah, I turned back to her. Draft an email to the company's board of directors. Include evidence of Donald's attempted corporate espionage and the CEO's involvement in using insider information to target a competitor. Add the security footage of Donald stealing company assets from the lake house. What about Amber? Rachel asked. I smiled grimly. Oh, I think the board will be very interested in how their CEO used a family member to help orchestrate corporate espionage. Don't you? Just as we were about to send the email to the board, I received an alert from the lake house security system. Donald was back, and this time he wasn't alone. Amber and her uncle, Robert, the CEO, were with him. They were carrying boxes into the house, more of my belongings, no doubt. "Wait," I said to Sarah, watching the live feed. "Let's see what they're up to." Through the cameras, we could see them in the living room, the audio crystal clear. Another feature Donald didn't know about. They were celebrating. Champagne glasses in hand, Robert raised his glass. "To the future CFO," he said, "and to my beautiful niece, who helped make it all happen." "Julia has no idea what's coming," Donald laughed. "Tomorrow morning, the board announces my promotion, and by afternoon, our legal team will have control of her company's accounts for audit purposes. Within a month, her business will be worthless." Amber chimed in. "The lake house is her biggest problem. Wait until she finds out about the offshore accounts." I froze. What offshore accounts? Rachel quickly got to work. Within minutes, her face darkened. "Found them. Donald's been funneling money from your joint accounts into offshore holdings for months. Not just Emma's college fund, nearly $300,000. This was bigger than I thought. Donald wasn't just planning to leave me. He had been systematically stealing from our family for months. The lake house drama had been a distraction from his bigger scheme. But then, Robert said something that chilled me to the bone. "Once Julia's company tanks, our merger will go through smoothly. Her market share will be split between our subsidiaries, and her ethical business model will be nothing but a memory." My company wasn't just successful, it was disrupting their entire industry with our commitment to sustainable practices and fair labor. This wasn't just about Donald's promotion or his affair. They wanted to destroy everything I had built because it threatened their way of doing business. "Send the email," I told Sarah. "But add one more thing. Access the backup server password, Emma's birthday, and attach the file marked insurance." Sarah's eyes widened. As she opened the file, it contained years of documentation about questionable practices at Donald's company, information I'd gathered while managing his investment portfolio. I had kept it as insurance, never imagining I'd actually need it. "Julia," Rachel interrupted, staring at her screen. "Donald just tried to access our company servers again from the lake house. He's getting desperate." I watched through the cameras as Donald excused himself to the home office. My home office. He sat at my desk, probably trying to hack into my business accounts again. "Let him in," I told Rachel. "Let him think he's won. In about 10 minutes, the board email will go out, and their whole house of cards will come crashing down." "Email's ready. Should I hit send?" Sarah asked. I looked at the security feed one last time. Donald, Amber, and Robert were still celebrating their imaginary victory. "Do it." The response was swift. Within minutes of Sarah sending the email, Robert's phone rang through the security feed. We watched his face turn pale as he listened to what I assumed was the board's immediate reaction. "What do you mean, emergency meeting?" he shouted into the phone. "Who sent what evidence?" Donald grabbed his phone, presumably checking his email. The color drained from his face. "The servers." She knew. Julia knew I was trying to access them. "It gets better," I whispered to Sarah as we waited for the next part. Right on cue, Amber's phone started blowing up with notifications. Someone had anonymously sent her private Facebook messages to every board member, messages where she bragged about helping Donald steal corporate information. The security camera caught the exact moment their celebration turned to panic. Robert was shouting into his phone, Donald was frantically trying to close his laptop, and Amber was in tears, mascara running down her face. Then, the sirens started. Police cars pulled up to the lake house, lights flashing. Turns out, corporate espionage and financial fraud are serious crimes. I picked up Emma and held her close, watching through the cameras. See that, baby girl? That's what happens when people underestimate your mommy. The fallout was swift. Within 24 hours, Donald and Robert were fired. The board's investigation uncovered even more than I had known, not just the plot against my company, but years of fraudulent practices. Amber's involvement in corporate espionage ruined her budding career, and she eventually moved back to Ohio. The offshore accounts were frozen, and every penny Donald had stolen was returned with interest. As for the lake house, attempting to steal company assets was a great way to lose any claim to property. The deed was transferred to my name, where it always should have been. Donald tried to apologize, sending lengthy emails about how he had lost himself, how he'd been induced by power and a younger woman. I never responded. The divorce papers were clear. He lost everything he tried to steal, and then some. The evidence of his corporate espionage ensured he would never work in finance again. Meanwhile, my company's ethical business model attracted even more investors after the scandal. We expanded into markets that Donald's company had dominated, and our reputation for integrity brought in customers who had lost faith in traditional corporations. Emma and I now spend weekends at the lake house, making new memories. Sometimes, when I'm sitting on the deck watching her play, I think about Donald's smug email with that photo. He thought he was announcing his victory, but he was really documenting the beginning of his downfall. I kept that email. It's framed in my office, a reminder to never underestimate a woman who has built something worth protecting. This version is similar in length and maintains the same plot, but I've adjusted the writing style and phrasing. Let me know what you think.